In 2000, I was living in La Jolla, California, and several people, 3 or 4 people, said to me, "Do you know Henry DeVries? You've got to meet Henry DeVries. Oh my God, you and Henry would get along so amazingly well." Unbeknownst to me, those same people were sharing with Henry, "Have you met Mark LeBlanc? The two of you, you just think so much alike." And so I don't recall if I reached out to him or he reached out to me, but we had a coffee at the Sheraton Hotel in La Jolla, and we just had this wonderful conversation. And he looked at my little blue book, some of you have it, titled Growing Your Business, and he said, "Well, that's a neat little mass market book. Can I buy 50 of them?" Score. Absolutely. He became my instant best friend. And I did what so many professionals often do. I let him slip through the cracks. And we never connected again until 7 years later. Have you ever let somebody great slip through the cracks and you blink and 2 years goes by or 5 years goes by, or in our case, 7 years went by? And Henry reached out to me 7 years later and he said, "Mark, I need a favor." And at that point, no matter what he wanted, it was an automatic what? It was an automatic yes. And little did I know that that favor of speaking at a conference that he was sponsoring in La Jolla would lead to an incredible friendship, an incredible business relationship, and Henry and I would go on to co-present over 65 seminars together across the United States. To paraphrase Lois, he is a brother from another mother. And last year, he co-authored a book titled Build Your Consulting Practice with me. And it was a great honor. Today, one of the reasons why I wanted or encouraged Lois to bring Henry in is that Henry is a student. We've heard that from General Halstead. We heard that from Karen Buxman again this morning. But he is a lifelong student, and he has been studying story and humor and how to arrange and structure his content like maybe no one I have ever seen before. He is the author of a number of books, but more importantly, or maybe larger, is that he has been a ghostwriter, a producer, a publisher, a developmental editor, a strategic book coach, and shepherd on more than 300 business books. About 15 of his own, including the book Persuade with a Story that you're going to hear today, and a best-selling book titled How to Close a Deal Like Warren Buffett. On an interesting note, he almost won $13,000 on Jeopardy. And he has lived to tell the tale. I hope that he will share a little bit about his experience with Jeopardy. May I present to you my friend and business partner and my brother, Henry DeVries.
Thank you, SCN. Thank you, Lois, for inviting me here today to talk about persuading with a story. I wish you could have been with me on the phone call. It was in 2014, and Bill Wooditch gave me a call. Now, I didn't know who Bill Wooditch was. I didn't know he was a big deal. But Bill Wooditch called, and he said, "Hi, Henry, you don't know who I am." but I know the 4 magic words in the English language. Wow, okay. Bill, what are the 4 magic words in the English language? And he said, I know a guy. There's something I want. I've been calling around, and people say, I know a guy. His name is Henry DeVries. You got to talk to him. And I said, wow, Bill, that's a lot of pressure. What is it that you want? He said, I want to be a professional speaker and a best-selling author. And I said, whoa, Bill, you want to climb a mountain. That's a mountain you want to climb. I don't know if you really want to climb that mountain. He says, I want to convince you of that. So he offered me $1,000 to drive up from San Diego, where I lived, up to here in Orange County, and in Orange County to meet with him. So $1,000, that was persuasive. I came up, and I spent an afternoon with him. And Bill was 58 years old. Michael Haig, the triggering event was he had had his 58th birthday. And he looked at his life, and he didn't like what he saw. Now, Bill was very successful. He had started a company, had over 100 employees. They are a construction insurance company, and they only handle the really big construction projects. You know, the ones you see with all the cranes? That was Bill's company. Bill confided in me, though. He said, Henry, I'm 58, and I never found the right woman. I looked for her. I looked for her for decades, and I couldn't find her. So I poured all my energy into this business, and this business became everything to me. And I interviewed some of the people who worked there, and they said, Bill is the most motivational, amazing boss I've ever had. He took us in when we didn't know anything. He taught us to be problem solvers, and we went from nothing to making 6 figures. One told me, you know what's special about Bill? When we started, if we didn't have the right clothes to wear, he bought us the right clothes to wear. Yeah, wow. And I said, well, Bill, you didn't get what you wanted. He goes, no, I mean, it's great motivating 100 people. That's great. I want to be a best-selling author and a professional speaker who motivates 10,000 people at a time. And I said, oh my gosh, Bill, you want to climb Mount Everest. It's Mount Everest that you want to climb. There was passion in his voice, though, and the passion convinced me to say, well, if you want to climb Mount Everest, I'm your Sherpa. Let's go. And let me tell you, it wasn't easy. Bill was a blogger. God, down south, people from down south, you know, bless his heart, he was a blogger. He had blogged 90,000 words. It about broke his heart when I told him, Bill, not these words. At least not 2/3 of them. Save the rest for another book. So I was working with his material, and he says, so the book comes out and then we speak? I said, no, we start speaking right now. And I got him booked at Qualcomm headquarters. I don't know if you know Qualcomm, Fortune 500 company, 100 people in the audience, C-level executives. Bill spoke. Executive came up to me afterwards and said, wow, Henry, Bill is dynamic. Bill has passion. I have no idea what Bill is talking about. Bill, I told Bill, I want to take you out to dinner. So it was a steak restaurant in Laguna Beach. Oh, by the way, I have Bill's permission to tell this story, and he says, I want you to tell that when you took me out to dinner, I picked up the check. See, I'm Dutch. This will come in later in the story here. So I said, Bill, here's what you're missing. Stories. Humans are hardwired for stories. You don't have stories to make your points. So we need to refine it. And I'll tell you what your book's about. He goes, oh, what's my book about? And I said, fear. It's the fear everyone has. We all face it. And you have a motto called always forward. And you taught your 100 people how to overcome their fear. That's what people want. So we took the show on the road. First, we did a national publicity tour with print people. So people who wrote online and for magazines, and they would interview Bill. Of course, he had to get his stories down for those interviews. And then radio. So we got him on radio stations across the country. Now, you think that's glamorous. If you're in Orange County, California, and you've got to talk to the Bee Morning Zoo at 7 a.m. in drive time in Orlando, it's 4 a.m. here, and you got to get up and be up. But Bill was willing to do that, and he would do all these interviews, and he did 20 of them. And I said, okay, now TV. You're graduating to TV. We took the stories as he traveled around the country to the local TV shows, you know, AM Sacramento, and you'd get on, and he would tell his stories. Our big break came when the Steve Harvey Show booked him for an appearance. And not just a quick thing or we've got some people on a panel. They gave 45 minutes to Bill to work with the audience on how to overcome their fears and move always forward. No, 10,000 people did not hear Bill Wooditch that day. 2 million people heard Bill Wooditch that day. Steve Harvey was so impressed, he offered him an ongoing shot on the show. Bill recently made his 3rd appearance. He now has a national podcast show. We say at Indie Books, where we published his book, we said he graduated to McGraw-Hill. And McGraw-Hill has his next book coming out. And I called Bill up and I said, Bill, I want to take you to dinner. And no, not McDonald's. I didn't take him to Denny's. Somebody missed that. Go to Denny's on your birthday. I think it's free. No. I took him to the same steakhouse, and I did pay. And I said, Bill, I just wanted to say, you proved it to me. You were willing to climb the mountain. And he got choked up. He got verklempt. You know? And he said, those were the words I wanted to hear most of all. If I can give you one piece of science to take away, it's humans are hardwired for stories. If you're a dated person and you want to get, you know, what is it? I don't believe this guy. Go to the August 2008 issue of Scientific American Mind. And the cover story is Why We Love a Good Yarn. And it's all the psychological research, the neuroscience research into storytelling. Out in Tennessee, Vanderbilt University, they do a study where they bring 2 groups of people, 2 separate groups of people, 2 separate rooms. Group A, they tell them the facts and figures. Group B, they just give them a narrative. They just give them the story. Guess which group was more persuaded? Well, because I'm this persuade with a story guy, it's B. It's the narrative people. You know, if you want people to think it over, give them facts and figures. If you want to get to their emotions, go to the story. So, Mark, thanks for bringing up Jeopardy. Most painful day of my life. You know, Mark said, I almost won $13,000. Operative word class, what was the operative word in that sentence? Almost, yes. Well, let me tell you, I grew up 20 miles from here on a dairy farm in Chino, California. And I had the privilege, I got to work every day with my best friend, my father. I lost him a few years ago. I really miss him. And we would work every day. He was a Dutch dairy farmer. So this means hardworking. It also means frugal. Dad would go around the dairy like this. And I said, what's the matter, Dad? Arthritis? And he goes, no, I have a $5 bill. So, I mean, this is yeah, I'll wait for it. Copper wire was invented when 2 Dutchmen fought over a penny. So, okay. These are frugal people. The F word, it's our word. So, my dad was so disciplined that we stopped every day at 11:30 so we could have our lunch in front of the television set to watch from New York Jeopardy with Don Pardo, Art Fleming. I know we've been doing the millennial jokes, but back in the 60s, they used to have game shows on during the day. And so we would watch the game shows during the day. And it was always my dream to be on Jeopardy. So I made my dream come true. It was about 25 years ago. I'll tell you real quick how you get on Jeopardy. You have to pass 3 tests. One is a knowledge test. I was in a room of this size. We took a 100-question test, and they asked all but 3 of us to leave. So I was one of the 3 remaining, so we passed that test. They took us on the set of Jeopardy. Have you ever seen the show and somebody can't do the buzzer clicker right? Well, you might have the head knowledge, but you can't perform under pressure. So I won that. So they said, okay, 3rd and final test. I said, I'm ready. They said, okay, it's the personality test. That's a good group. They're ahead of me. You know, judging by the show, I didn't know if that meant I should have a personality. I went with personality. I told them about the time I was a sports writer and a 250-pound baseball player threw a chair at my head. He missed. I get on the show. I'm in the lead. It's my categories. I win the daily double. Last question. I have $6,500. It's my category, world geography. The woman to my left has $6,400. So if you understand the rules, I have to bet it all. It's an all or nothing to bet. It's a no-brainer. Name 2 of the 9 mainland countries on the equator. Oh. What is Brazil and a fog bank moved over the map of South America in my mind. I thought, quick, other side of the globe, go to Africa. A darker, denser fog bank moved over the map of Africa. Ding, 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 ding. I thought, where is it hot? India. And Alex Trebek said, oh, I'm sorry. I did not leave empty-handed. I got a lifetime supply of Lee press-on nails. In an amazing act of cruelty, they gave me the home version of the Jeopardy game so I could relive this pain. And what became known as the Jeopardy sofa. It was a double lazy boy recliner. My wife loved it, threw our couch out, put it in the middle of the living room. And for the next 10 years, when anyone came to the house, she said, would you like to sit on the Jeopardy sofa? So what are you going to ask? Oh, why do you call it the Jeopardy sofa? This is what we got instead of $13,000 when my husband went on the TV game show Jeopardy. My wife was not at the taping that night. She couldn't be there. No family member was able to be there, except my father. My father drove the hour into Hollywood, spent all afternoon on the taping, and then took me out to dinner afterwards. Took me out to dinner. Okay, so this is big. And he said, Henry, I keep going over and over in my mind the game. And it isn't the losing that bothers me. I keep thinking about the money. So it's about the money today. We're here. I tell this story because it's about the money. Now, I know you are not in this field about the money. You're here to make an impact and have an influence. I'm here to deliver a message from the universe. See, I'm from California, so we talk about things like the universe. When I'm out with Mark in the Midwest, I talk about God helps those who help themselves. I am bilingual. I can speak both languages. So today, I have a message from the universe. If you don't get the money right, you're not going to be around to have the impact and influence. Yeah, can I get, I was going to ask for an amen. I got a hoo-yah. Hoo-yah, amen. I was in Savannah, and somebody yelled, preach! And I thought, what? That's what I thought. That's hoo-yah in Savannah, I guess. Okay. That's my message today. We got to get the money right. And I have the research background. I'm the former assistant dean for continuing education and public programs at the University of California, San Diego. So I did a 10-year, $2 million research study on how consultants attract high-paying clients. Would you like to know what the people who hire you said your biggest problem is, that you're the worst at? Talking about money. They said they are the worst. They're just the worst. I said, tell me what you mean. This one focus group said, oh, I'll tell you what it's like talking to them. He says, it's like you go into a restaurant and they don't have a menu. And you say, well, do you have menus? No, we don't have menus. We like to ask people questions about what they like. Well, what were you thinking you might like tonight? Well, I don't know. Chicken? Chicken. There's a lot that goes into chicken. Do you mind if I ask you some follow-up chicken questions? Oh, what's been your experience with chicken before? What's your chicken budget? If I could solve every chicken challenge you have, what would that be worth to you? And then they go away. So Mark mentioned we've done these 65, we call them marketing with a book and speech summits. We go around the country. It's this amazing thing because it's 3 hours. It's no cost, no selling, no kidding. We just give information away for 3 hours. After one in New York City, my daughter Carla, who was in New York City at the time, said, Dad, I want to take you to dinner. I'm sorry, check that. It was, Dad, I want to go to dinner with you. And so she texts me this restaurant in Queens. I don't know if you're familiar with Queens. I had to take a subway out there. The restaurant was a short run from the subway. I get to the restaurant door and it says, absolutely no checks or credit cards accepted. Cash only. So a short run to the bodega, get $200, run back to the restaurant. I get a text from Carla. I'm going to be 45 minutes late. Oh, okay, well, go in the restaurant, and it was a Greek restaurant. If you're Greek, forgive the accent I'm about to do, but the waitress comes up and says, what you want? And I said, I'd like a menu, please. No menus. I thought, it's my chicken story. And I said, oh, well, what do you have? Lamb and fish. And I looked, I saw somebody, I said, what's that over there? Grilled octopus. I'll have that as an appetizer and a Diet Coke. She comes over, boom, boom, don't spill. I get on the phone right away. I call my son Jordan, who works in the business, my college-aged son Jordan. And I go, Jordan, let me tell you about this restaurant Carla sent me. And I tell him everything. And he says, oh, the food there's going to be amazing. Why did Jordan, this is the audience participation part, why did Jordan think the food would be amazing? Because of the service, they were doing everything they could to prevent me from being a customer. Is that what you're doing to your people? Do you have a menu yet? I gave you what we affectionately call the Denny's placemat. The Denny's placemat includes what I talk about, a menu. You need a menu of services. Mark talked about the $1 million idea. I will give you the $1 million idea right now before I learned the menu concept. One year, I was running an advertising and public relations agency. We responded to 20 requests for proposals. I landed 14 of the 20. Pretty good, huh? Yeah. The next year, after I learned what I'm going to tell you right now, I won 27, and I responded to 3 requests. I was 27 for 3. Little better, right? Here's what it was. I quit sending proposals responses out. I just had a menu of my services, platinum, gold, silver, and prices. And then when people would talk to me, they would want it in writing. So I said, of course. How many days do I have? It took 1 minute to push the button and send it to them, but it's nice to play with people. So I would do that, and then they would see it in writing, and they'd hire you. One woman flew out from Kansas City. She was asking around. So I know a guy, Henry DeVries. He's in San Diego. So she said, I'm in San Diego at a conference. Will you come down to the Hyatt? We'll meet in the lobby bar. I want to talk to you about hiring you. So I came down. We spoke for an hour, and she said, great, I want to hire you. And I said, nope. She said, what do you mean no? I said, too soon. She goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm just some guy you met in a bar. You can't hire me to be your ghostwriter and publisher. Aren't you going to want to see this in writing? Oh, yeah, I should see this in writing, yeah. Wouldn't you like a list of people to talk to? I have a list. You can talk to people. Somebody vetted me and talked to 5 people last month, and they called back and said, I'm hiring you. I've talked to 5 people. I'm hiring you. I said, that's great. What did they say? They said, you are honest. And I thought, that's a nice reputation to have. I'm honest. He said, yeah, one guy said, he told you his idea for his book, and you said, well, nobody's going to buy that book. I said, oh, yes, brutally honest. I'm working on that. But we're brutally honest. Okay. If I have one piece of science to leave you with, humans are hardwired for stories. That's the why. You can have more impact and influence if you get that right. So let's talk about the how we're going to do it. I was honored in January. Aflac, you know Aflac? You know, the duck and taking care of insurance. Aflac invited me to speak to a national convention. Keynote at a national convention. You know, big hotel room, the whole thing. So I am a disciple of Michael Haig. I researched Aflac, and I'm going to tell you the story I told Aflac. The year was 1998, and the place is Princess Anne, Maryland, and Maria, happily married. She's got a great job. She works at Johns Hopkins University. Great husband. He's just a great guy. He's a policeman for Prince Anne. And Aflac came in, and the police department decided to pick up Aflac for all the officers. And her husband told Shem, the Aflac agent, he goes, I'm going to cost you a lot of money because of your wellness program. Aflac, I don't know if you know this, if you're with Aflac, they pay you to take a physical exam and to go through tests. So he was going to make some money off Aflac. He came back to Shem and said, I'm going to cost you a lot of money. He revealed he had stage 4 lung cancer. So Shem meets with Maria and her husband. And Maria, loyal employee but more loyal wife, quits her job on the spot. And Shem said, well, Aflac is going to put food on your table, gas in your tank, and a roof over your head. Her husband lasted a year, and he passed away. And Shem came there and said, well, we were just happy we could give you the $70,000. And Maria said, you didn't just give me $70,000. You gave me a year of life with my husband. And I told the Aflac people, I said, you are noble people. You are doing a noble work. You kept the wolf off their door. And that's the work you do. You keep the wolf off people's doors. And there's monster problems in this world like cancer and stroke and heart attacks and car accidents. And you keep the wolf. Oh, by the way, I love this wolf. I got him at IKEA. He comes with grandma already inside. Okay, I just told a cancer story. I had to lighten the mood in the room. Funny means money, right there? Prop humor guy. Okay. I'm going to give you the formula for the stories. It's pretty simple. It's 3 characters. And then there are 8 great stories that you tell. If you're old school, Star Wars, you remember Luke Skywalker. If you're more modern, let's go with Rey. Somebody dressed in a robe like this who's an orphan. There's a bad guy who wears a cape. It's Darth Vader in the original one, Kylo Ren in our modern versions. And then there's a mentor character. It's Yoda, green and old and ring. And if they're in the modern version, Mark Hamill has become green and old, and he now plays the Yoda character. Okay. My message for you is, you are not the Luke Skywalker hero of the stories you should be telling. You get to be in the stories. Shem from Aflac was not the hero of the story. It was Maria. Because Maria went from mess to success. It was a tragedy. It was sad, but at least she got that year of life. It was poignant. Mark LeBlanc taught me, in your speech, you're going for 4 things. You want to engage people's minds. You want to get them to think. You want to stir their souls. So you want to do that. You want to touch their hearts. And then if you can tickle their funny bone, you got the perfect 4. You got the grand slam. So that's something we all need to work on and aspire to. But the simple place it starts are mine your stories. Who are the clients who you went from mess to success? You get to be, let's hope you're not this character in the story. I had one person say, I want to be that guy. I want them to fear me. I go, no, we're going to need to work on this. You want to be the mentor, the voice of wisdom and experience, the person whose advice got them over the problem. Those are the 3 characters. Now what I'm going to teach is something that other people don't teach. So this is unique to me. And it's really transformed our publishing business, and every book that we do follows one of the 8 great mess to success stories. There are 8 great stories that humans are hardwired to hear. We need to hear, we want to hear them. I gave the Persuade with a Story workshop for business leaders in downtown LA. It was really neat, where you get to be in one of those high rises in a big office. And the host, the managing partner of the law firm, took me into his inner office afterwards. And he said, I need to tell you something. And the office was surrounded with movie memorabilia, posters and props and all these things. And he goes, Grandpa was a producer in Hollywood in the 20s. In the golden age, Dad was a producer in Hollywood. I went into entertainment law. Grandpa used to always say, we only make 8 movies in Hollywood. And I never knew what that meant till today. Now you'll know what they are. The first one. Is it problem solution? This is a 3-headed monster. Is it an overcoming the monster plot? Oh, you might think, oh, well, you're talking about movies and fiction. I studied the 100 greatest business books of all time. They follow the same 8 great story formula. Overcoming the monster, problem solution. This is Jaws. This is every superhero movie you see right now. Jaws in 30 seconds. Jaws is, hey, we're all at the beach. Life's good at the beach. Sure good for business. Shark, get out of the water. Shark. Oh, this is bad for business. We're going to need to hire somebody to kill that shark. I have a boat. I kill sharks. You're hired. I killed the shark. Everybody get out of the water. There's a great white shark. I'm going to need a bigger boat. That is the plot of Jaws, and it's Dracula in every horror film. And some of our authors, Kevin, where are you? There you are, battling and beating the demons of dental assisting. Penny Reed. Penny Reed, growing your dental business. What every dentist, we've got some in here, every dentist, what do they got? A great education, great clinical skills, a huge loan. And they don't have the cash flow and time to enjoy it. Who owns the business? No, the business owns the dentist. And they trudge off. That's a monster problem. That problem needs to be killed. Thanks, Penny, for killing that problem out there. We helped Angie Stone with her book, Dying from Dirty Teeth. I think when she told Mark and I first, oh, it's about the hygienist's guide to cruising senior citizens' longevity, and we go, not that book. Nobody's going to buy that book. Dying from Dirty Teeth. That's a monster problem. Tell it. Okay, next. More audience participation. This is Barbie playing somebody, but who is the princess that Barbie is playing, please? Cinderella, thank you, Cinderella. I'm fond of Cinderella. She's screwed up more young women than any other character in literature. Because the story of Cinderella is, if you're an orphan and life was tough, but you're plucky, and have a size 2 figure and a size 0 shoe size, you too can be rescued by a handsome prince. As the father of 2 women in business, this is not the story I want. However, to take away from it, it's the classic underdog story. It is the classic underdog story. It's David versus Goliath, rags to riches. So if that's the story you're telling, you've got to know that. Oh, here it is. Oh, we're the Oakland A's. We're poor. We're not as rich as the New York Yankees. Plucky idea, I know. We'll use computers to find broken toy ball players. And we put all these broken toys together. The sum will be greater than the parts. And we'll win until the playoffs. And then they need really expensive pitching, right, Kevin? That's when the Yankees do. Okay, that's Moneyball. You probably saw the Brad Pitt movie. Moneyball is an underdog story. So what's an underdog story? Is that yours? I heard a few on this stage this weekend. Next one. Well, actually, let's do 2. This will be a twofer. Playgoers, I bid you welcome. I bring you the gods of comedy and tragedy. Tragedy tomorrow, comedy tonight. Now, these are not about being funny or sad. Any story can be funny or sad. This is about problem solving. If you solve the problem with a wacky idea, that's a comedy. Hijinks ensue, there's intervening plots, and a happy ending, of course. This is an old reference. Forgive me, but it's, oh, I'm short, I'm Jewish, I'm old, I can't get a part on Broadway. I know, wacky idea. I'll dress in drag and audition for a soap opera, and they'll see what a great actor I am. Tootsie. Or any romantic comedy. Hitch. Hitch. Oh, I'm a schlub. I'll hire a consultant, and I'll get to marry the princess. This is a wacky idea. Hijinks ensue. Hollywood ending. Tragedy. You're going and take a shortcut against the laws of nature, society, man. So Shakespeare, Hamlet, Othello, Macbeth, Lear, The Godfather. Somebody said the tragedy stories are the overcoming the monster story in reverse. It's told from the monster's perspective. If we're rooting for the monster there. I have an old reference. It's Scarface. Do people remember Scarface with Al Pacino? Well, I like it so much because it's an immigrant story. Like my father who immigrated from the Netherlands, you don't get a job, you start a business. So in ours, we started a dairy. And we gave you the white stuff you wanted. Cream cheese, ice cream, yeah. Well, Scarface, immigrant from Cuba, he gave you the white stuff, cocaine. If you think about that movie, Al Pacino's like, oh, first you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women. I think it would have gone so much better if he chose something else, like Amway. First you get the product, then you get the downline distributors, then you go to the incentive convention. And you get the women. So that would have been better. Okay, next one. Guinness Book of World Records has been mentioned. Guinness Book of World Records, the character most portrayed in film and television, Sherlock Holmes. He's hot. Sherlock Holmes is hot right now. He's got a BBC movie series. He's got a hit show on CBS. He's got a Robert Downey Jr. movie series. It doesn't matter if we put Sherlock Holmes in Victorian England or New York or anywhere. It's clues and searching for clues. And let's just face it, CSI is a Sherlock Holmes ripoff. It's microscopes and clues, and I'm talking about CSI Las Vegas, CSI Miami, CSI Cleveland. No, there is not a CSI Cleveland. This is a good group. They're keeping up with the jokes. But if there was a CSI Cleveland, it's going to start this way. I know one thing, Frank. He just made a mistake by the lake. And then the Who will go, wah! That'll be CSI Cleveland. If it's a whodunit, if it's Who Moved My Cheese, and Spencer Johnson, we lost him, great actor, author I meant. Spencer Johnson wrote Who Moved My Cheese. One of my book, launch parties, I'm buddies with Ken Blanchard, who wrote The 1 Minute Manager, and then knew his agent. And his agent, as her +1, brought Spencer Johnson to my book signing. And, Who Moved My Cheese sold 12 million copies. And he came up and I said, Spencer, it is such an honor to meet you. Between the two of us, we've sold 12 million books. And he said, actually, Henry, between the two of us, we've sold 25 million books. He was the co-author of The 1 Minute Manager with Ken Blanchard. Got it. Okay. And he said, Who Moved My Cheese was a dumb little story he told during one of his presentations. And Ken said, that dumb little story, make that a book. I heard the singer Jewel once, and she was performing, and she goes, oh, this is a stupid little song I wrote with Steve Poltz. We're trying to write another stupid little song like it, because it was their multi-million seller. So you never know what your little story, your little mess to success story can become. Okay, let's keep going. This is audience participation. We're going to play Who Am I? Who am I?
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones, thank you. The resemblance is remarkable. If it's a quest, if it's you're going after a prize, how to win friends and influence people, how to close a deal like Warren Buffett. My favorite quest book is Mark LeBlanc's Never Be the Same. It's about his first quest through Spain on the Camino de Santiago. If you haven't heard him tell that story, you haven't been listening. Mark will... Weddings, bar mitzvahs, he's there to tell that story. But I love the book so much. It's my favorite quest story because Mark didn't know it at the time. He was channeling John Steinbeck, the Nobel Prize winner for literature, in the book Grapes of Wrath. And in Grapes of Wrath, it followed the Joad family on their journey from Oklahoma to California. And one side of my family did also make that trek from Oklahoma to California during the Dust Bowl. And it was said it raised the IQ of both states. Okay. Well, Mark, similar, like the Joad family, his is about the way. And then Steinbeck alternated those chapters with essays about things that were going on. And Mark alternates his chapters with essays about what's happening in business and his business career and lessons learned. An amazing book to read or to listen to. And that's why Mark LeBlanc is my fourth favorite American author. Number 2 is John Steinbeck. Number 3 is Mark Twain. I'm my favorite American author. Come on, I'm number 1. But Karen's number 3. The first time I met Karen, she sat down and I said, well, Karen, tell me something about yourself. And she said, I'm the second funniest person to come out of Hannibal, Missouri. So that's where Mark Twain's from. So that's a lot of pressure. She can never be the funniest person to come from Hannibal, Mo. But the other one, yeah. There. Okay, so if your story is the quest and the prize, that's what it is. But let's go to our next one. Oh, we heard a great one today. The rebirth story. What was dead has come back to life. The resurrection story. Let's give it up for Roy one more time. What an incredible rebirth story. When you told them that you'd been in prison the day before and they didn't believe you, didn't the orange jumpsuit give it away? I just wondering. Just wondering.
I don't have one of those.
Don't have one of those. Okay. Okay. A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens is a rebirth story. People think Scrooge, by the way, is the villain of that story. He is not. Scrooge is not the villain of that story. He's the hero of it because he gets redeemed by the three ghosts. And he changed and became a better person. So that's what all this is about. So if you're telling one of those stories, a redemption story, then you're telling this type of story. I know we all have different faiths. May I tell a story that's from the Bible that's important to me? Okay. Because I'm in California, you know, I don't have a universe version of this story. But this story is about the prodigal son. So I don't know if you remember it from Sunday school or whatever, but I'll tell it like, I'm from a ranch in California, I'll tell it like a California rancher would. So there's this rancher, and he's getting on in years. He has two sons that help him run the ranch. And he thinks, you know, why should I wait till I die to let the sons take over the ranch? And he brings them in and he says, sons, I've got great news for you. I'm giving you the ranch now. Number one son, oldest son, Dad, this is so great. You know, we're going to make this ranch even better. He's a Bill Marriott Jr. kind of guy. You know, okay, we're going to run this ranch and it's going to be great. Son number two says, Dad, this is so great. I'm taking my money and I'm going to the big city. And he takes his money and he goes to the big city. And he spends his money on booze and hookers and gambling. And the rest of the money he wastes. The Bible says he came to his senses one day in a pig trough, pig being an unclean animal for them. And he's eating the carob seeds out of the pig trough. And he reasons, you know, the hired men on my dad's ranch have it better than I have it right now. Now, Dad's going to hate me. Dad's going to, you know, shame me. But if I could just get him to give me a minimum wage job back on the ranch, at least I would have a roof over my head, clothes on my back, and food on the table. How many parents here? Okay. When that son coming up on the road and the father sees him, did he go out to shame him? Did he go out to berate him? No. He went out to embrace him. And he hugged him, and he said, no more work today. We're having a fiesta today. We're going to kill the fatted calf, invite all his friends over, and get him some new clothes. How many first children do we have in the group? Okay, so the first child son goes, excuse me, Dad, Dad. He says, I've been working by your side. I never got a fiesta. We never killed the fatted calf for me. We never invited all my friends over. No new suit of clothes for me. And this is what the father said. He says, son, you got your reward by being with me every day. Your brother was dead to us. What was dead has come back to life. Come in the party and rejoice. And in the book of Luke, that is where it ends. We don't know. It's left to you, the reader, to decide, did the righteously indignant brother forgive his brother and go inside and rejoice or not? Now, I've surveyed a lot of first children, and I got their answer on it, but, you know, for you middle children and younger children, I'll leave that up to you on what's going to happen. Okay, last story. I saved the best for last. More audience. Where does he get these wonderful toys? Okay. The short answer is, no, I didn't get it at Kmart. I got it at the Smithsonian Institution where they are on display. These are the ruby slippers from A Wizard of Oz. And This is the most dysfunctional movie ever made, and you stuck your children in front of a TV set to watch it every year. If I'm going to write the remote control button plot summary, it would be girl arrives in strange land and kills, makes 3 friends, and kills again. That is the plot of The Wizard of Oz. Somebody said it was the ultimate chick flick, 2 women fighting over a pair of shoes. But I don't go there. What my problem with it is Glinda the Good Witch, the mentor character of this story. Glinda the Good Witch. The bar to be a good witch in Oz is very low because she is the most passive-aggressive witch I've ever come across. At the end of the movie, she tells Dorothy, you already knew this, to get home, click your heels 3 times and say, there's no place like home. And Dorothy said, watch the movie next time. Why didn't you tell me this at the beginning? When the house landed on the witch, before you sent me through a haunted forest, a poison poppy field, to break into a fortress and do whatever the guy running the fortress told me to do. He was a con man. He sent me up to a bigger fortress on top of a mountain to kill a wicked witch guarded by 1,000 flying monkeys. If I'm Dorothy Gale from Kansas, I'm looking for a bucket of water for that biatch right about then. Oh, and people think that movie starts in black and white and goes to color and then black and white. That's just Kansas. And no, I do not tell that story when I do Persuade with a Story workshops in Kansas. But they love the Wizard of Oz part. They're very proud of Dorothy Gale of Kansas. If your story is an escape story where you go from a normal place to a crazy place to normal, Alice in Wonderland is this. This is an escape story, so know the story that you're telling. Okay. Humans are hardwired for 8 great mess to success stories. Know which one you're telling. Your book should be the story. Within the book are stories. Within your teaching, within your workshops should have the stories. It's what will connect with people and give you that impact and influence that you want. Okay. I'm telling you, well, I'm not going to tell you how to run your life. But if you don't tell these stories, you're making a big mistake. Okay. I will tell you, though, most of your stories, almost all of your stories need to be, you're not the hero. They need to be client mess to success stories to have the impact and influence you want. However, there is one important exception. And this one important exception is called your defining story. Your defining story. Your stories matter, and your story matters. And it's not the first thing that you tell. In a book, I usually say it belongs in chapter 2. In a workshop, it's toward the end. You're meeting one-on-one with a client or a prospect, and they want to hear it. It's not the first thing, it's toward the end. But it's your defining story. They need to hear your defining story. For an example, I will give you mine. So, it's about 15 years ago, and my business coach, Gary Hawk, invited me to have lunch at P.F. Chang's to ask about my exit strategy. Oh, my exit strategy. I have an MBA. You know, I've graduated certificate programs at the Harvard Business School. Finally, somebody's asked me, what is my exit strategy? And I said, well, I'm going to run this advertising and PR agency for 10 more years. I'm going to get it running like a top. It's going to be systematized. I'm going to find a strategic buyer, and I'm going to turn it over to a strategic buyer. And then I'm going to go out and help consultants attract high-paying clients by marketing with a book and a speech, because I've cracked the code. I know how it can be done. Well, Gary, my coach, said, wow, that was not what I expected to hear. Do you mind if I ask you 3 follow-up questions? I said, well, of course. And he goes, well, number 1, how would you do this? And I said, well, I will write articles, and I'll give speeches, and I'll put on seminars, and I'll put on workshops, and I'll find some college to align with, someplace with lots of trees and water. It's probably up in Oregon. And Gary said, okay, wow, specific. Not what I expected either. He said, and let me ask you this next question because you seem very passionate. I am passionate about this. He goes, why are you waiting 10 years to follow your passion? It was a gut check question. I hate it when all of you consultants ask tough gut check questions like that. So I did what all of your clients do when you ask them a question like that. I lied. I did not know it was a lie at the time. I said, Gary, remember brutal honesty, that's a core value. Okay, I said, Gary, we've got these contracts, and I have these employees, and we have this lease, there's the mortgage, there's this other agreement, and I have a wolf, oh, he's over here. I have a wolf at my door. Michael Haig, when he heard that story, told me, the wolf at the door was your fear. It was your fear that you couldn't do it. Gary knew it too, but he gave me a pass. He said, okay, well, wolf at the door, I get it. Let me ask you the third question. How would you get started in a small way? I said, oh, small way. Well, I said, I would put on a lunch and learn at my office. I would get a mailing list of consultants and invitations, and I would invite them to hear what I had to say, and I'll buy the turkey sandwich. So I took the last $2,000 in the business checking account and bought invitations, postage, turkey sandwiches, and sent my invitations out in the mail. The week of 9/11/2001. The invites are in the mail when the jets hit the tower. So we remember what business was like then. 5 of the top 10 advertising and public relations firms in San Diego went bankrupt that year. We almost went bankrupt. But a funny thing happened. At the end of the month, my conference room was full of consultants who wanted to hear what I had to say. The extent of my intellectual property was 1 sheet of paper with 29 bullet points on it about how to get clients. I poured my heart out for 90 minutes, and I told them everything I could. And then I made the mistake. I asked, are there any questions? Yes, Henry, yes, question. I go, yes. How much would you charge to coach us to do this? Well, Gary never asked me that question. I had no business model. I had no business model. So I PFA'd. I pulled from air. $5,000. He said, check or will you take credit cards? Next month I said 6, then 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The price did not matter. It was their conviction that this would solve their problem, the revenue roller coaster problem. Mark and I, we wrote about the revenue roller coaster in Build Your Consulting Practice. I'm sorry, that's Kevin's book. I brought this, and I brought Persuade with a Story. This is how you hold your book up, by the way, when you're shilling it. I'm not shilling, because if social media, any of those millennials here put you on Facebook, or, you want the book in your head there. I'm not shilling the book right now. I did bring a few copies. I'm happy to sign them if you buy a copy. If you buy 2, I'll come to your house and read it to you. But at the time, I just had this, and it was their conviction that that would work and how much of the heavy lifting I was willing to do. And along the way, one of them said, you know how to write books, you've written books, how much would you charge to write a book? PFA, gave him a number, that was the more than 300 book projects ago. I had got a call one day from the dean of the University of California, San Diego, continuing education. Well, actually, it was like a note. It was a text. It said, "See me." Yeah. Nothing good in the history of business has ever happened following a note that says, "See me." So I'm brought in, and she goes, "What's this? I know you've been teaching with us since 1984, but what's this I hear about you're quitting, you're moving away, you're going to go to some university in Oregon?" And I go, "Oh, no, my vision speech." So I gave her my vision speech, and she said, "I don't get it." I had been the president of the Alumni Association. She goes, "You know everybody at this college, from the janitor to the president up in Berkeley, and they all like you. So we'll start you with an administrative academic position, and your starting salary will be..." And I said, "Excuse me, did a job interview just happen and I missed it, and now we're on to salary negotiation?" I took it to my advisory board, and they said, "It's a no-brainer, just move your business into the university." That's what I did for 7 years. Then I told the dean, "I love you, I love the university, I just love these consultants more, and they need more help." So that's when Mark and I formed Indie Books International. And we have over 100 titles in the last 4 years. And Karen was nice to give us a shout out. Our brand is generosity. So this story, though, it really isn't about me. It's about you. I want to ask you the same 3 questions. 1, to persuade with a story, how would you do it? I gave you instructions here. I mean, a lovely parting gift, better than Lee Press-on Nails. You've got the Denny's placemat with it. If you need a book, you can have a book. There's all, the how is not the important thing. The second question is, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? And you don't need one persuasive story. You need a tool chest full of persuasive stories. And I'm not trying to turn you into some grandpa who's going around telling stories all the time. There's the right time and place. Find it. And the third thing, how would you get started in a small way? If you want to have a free 30-minute, no cost, no selling, no kidding strategy session with me, my phone number and my email is on that form. Just tell me and I'll book an appointment with you. Just going to leave you with 2 things. 1, humans are hardwired for stories. And 2, your stories matter. By persuading with a story, you'll be able to define your healthy success. Thank you.